December at 5:06 p.m. First item on the agenda is the agenda. I would welcome a motion. Great.
Oh, just kidding. Move to adopt the agenda as amended. Resolved from the agenda item 4.06, actually agenda item 4.14, communication. Ron Jacobs asking Virgin President regarding current staffing at the temporary location unit. Up to the agenda item 4.15, communication. City Councilor Karen Hall, Chair, Public Safety Committee regarding request for allocation of posting reports of Public Safety Committee.
Second.
Great. Thank you both. Is there further discussion of the agenda? A motion, seeing none, we'll go to vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have an agenda with those amendments, which are all reflected here, right? I can just move through here. 4.06 is removed. Okay. Next item is the public forum. Is there any member of the public that would like to address?
It was not clear. Sharon raised her hand.
Okay. Can you click over to the attendees?
Yes, but it's on my screen.
Nice. Is there any member of the public that is interested in speaking to the Board of Finance? Please raise your hand. Use the raise hand function if you're. Okay, it looks like former Councilor Sharon Busher would like to be recognized. So go ahead, Sharon. I think you should be able to speak.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm speaking on an item that actually you removed from the Board of Finance, but I'm not certain why you removed it, and I just wanted to weigh in. It had to do with the unassigned fund balance, and I read that it was 5.40 on the City Council agenda, and I had difficulty understanding it. You know, it set the range from 10 to 15%, and then it said the audit found 9.2 or whatever, 9.2 million was at 13% or so. And then there was a laundry list of items of how you were going to spend some of those dollars, which added up to 7.2 million, which would have only left 2 million remaining. And I thought I missed something. I actually reached out to past Councilor Jane Nodell and asked her to eyeball it because I wasn't following it. So as you, whatever you're going to do with that item, as you maybe revamp it, for members of the public, it was really difficult to follow. And, you know, I know that you take seriously our finances, and I don't believe that you would spend down to leave only 2 million in the unassigned fund balance. So those are my comments, and thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much, Sharon. If there's no objections, I'll just quickly address that here as typically how I do it, but it could have caused confusion. There was an error with that resolution, basically, and so it has been removed, and it's going to be rewritten and come back next time. All that was being attempted here was the auditors have requested, I think it would be a good practice, I think now and on an ongoing basis, for there to be a annual formal action by the council to reaffirm, and the Board of Finance to reaffirm not what is in the assigned balance, which is different. We have this unassigned fund balance, which, as that language all showed, the audit has confirmed the unassigned fund balance is approximately $9 million. We also have this $7 million assigned fund balance, which essentially means the city council over some number, really a couple of years with the administration has made decisions that commit certain funds that haven't been spent yet, but they are encumbered and committed, and they stay on on our balance sheet as a assigned balance until one of two things, at least two things happen, maybe there's more than this, but either they're spent as planned or we get to the end of that project and they haven't fully been expended, and then they can be reabsorbed back into the unassigned fund balance. Sometimes you see on a year, like that could be a big contributor why an unassigned fund balance might go up over the course of the year. So that's what this was supposed to be about, is defining what's in the assigned fund balance, so there's no confusion of that and no confusion about that for the auditors. The rest of the resolution, from my read of it when I focused on it today, and I apologize, this was one that I was traveling some last week and we just had some internal, this one kind of slipped through the cracks. The rest of the resolution didn't tie to that the way it was supposed to. It talks about unassigned fund balance. Really, this is about the assigned fund balance. That'll get cleaned up and fixed for the auditors next time. And so we'll be back in 3 weeks with a document that makes sense. So it's not even really a discussion item, but seems like others have noticed it as well. So now let's move on. If there's no other people that were looking to be recognized, we will go to we'll close the public forum and we'll go to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt the consent agenda and take the actions as indicated.
Thank you, Councilor Hightower. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing that, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And now that brings us to 4.01. We have 14 items we're trying to make it through over the course of the next. And are we trying to start at 6? Executive session is 6. Okay, so good. Excuse me. 4.01. Project management services contract amendment. White and Burke. Brian Pine is here. Do you want to get it up for us real quick, Brian?
Sure. The purpose of this request tonight is just to clarify that the services being provided by White and Burke are to include the work around the downtown TIF district and to authorize additional funds to be able to enable that. There was just a little ambiguity in the previous authorization, and their work is critical to the efforts to advance the downtown TIF district project. So make sure that both that was clear and that adequate funds are in place for both that and the waterfront TIF district services that they provide through the end of this calendar year, December.
Thank you. Councilor Hightower.
Sorry, and just I only skimmed the contract. Is this saying in terms of the costs, or I guess on our side, that 100,000 of it is coming from the TIF revenues?
Yeah, these are TIF expenses, and the rate remains the same. So what we did is we essentially increased level of effort to cover more work in the downtown TIF than we initially envisioned, because of the fact that the project moved forward and governor approval.
Sorry, so what is the 100-100 split?
It's to divide the level of effort between the two downtown and waterfront TIFs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Paul.
So I just have a quick question, and that is that if you take the 200,000 divided by the number of months, you're talking about $12,000 a month. It would seem as though that you're talking about 40, 50, 60 hours worth of work every month. Is that right?
At that hourly rate, I haven't done the math.
Well, I don't know what the hourly rate is, but what I'm saying is that you're at least talking about 40 to 50 hours a month. It's like, that's a lot. And so I'm just wondering, is that really what it is?
Fair question. I think the goal being to we only get billed for time spent. So that's of course an important point, is we don't get billed like a fixed amount per month, only for hours spent. So the actual hours devoted by the consultants were considerably higher in the months leading up to the vote, and projects require more work to bring them to fruition. Both waterfront tip, the City Place project will probably will start to require more of their effort. We don't want to have a point where we have to keep coming back, so the amount may not be necessary to pull them out, but that's what we estimated. But that's also, we've already spent what was authorized previously, so this is adding the previously authorized amount.
I guess all I would say is that I just hope that is it's a substantial consulting contract. This is not a commentary on whether it's worth it. This is just a commentary on it's a lot of money. And I just hope that we're being very mindful of the number of hours, because it's, it's substantial. And then I just wanted to ask, as far as the reimbursement, was that budgeted for when we did the TIF? So that was put into the budget for TIF. Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Further discussion and ready for motion. Councilor Tyler.
Move to take the recommended action as listed on board document.
Thank you. Seconded by President Tracy. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimously. Brian, that moves us to 4.02, another CEDO item, reclassification of one role within CEDO. Do you want to do a quick summary of this, Brian?
Tony's with us, and I think he's hoping to talk. He's ready to go.
All right, Tony, you can see you on the screen here. The floor is yours.
So this is a role that we are reclassifying due to some attrition within the immediate department and some shifting around of responsibilities to kind of include some more oversight in that role. We have a very competent and capable incumbent in this role, and think it's a good combination of what they are good at, what we need. And yeah, that's kind of some of the background there. Brian, feel free to add anything I may have missed.
This person sort of provides the face for city government on the third floor. This is the person you encounter when you come to the third floor. They handle multiple, sometimes competing priorities for 3 departments.
Good, thank you, Councilor Hightower.
I move to recommend that the city council approve the reclassification of the office assistant as listed on board docs.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by President Tracy. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, authorization for reimbursement for public improvement bonds for city's capital projects. Catherine.
Yeah, we have Rich here, but I will start and say this item and the one beneath it, which is for the TIF bond, should both look somewhat familiar to you, as these are relatively standard authorizations when a bond is approved. Our bond counsel has asked that we have you approve these so that we can start spending money before we actually go out and do the bond. Take the bond money from the bank, and that's all this is approving, authorizing us to do. So that we can spend the money, and then Rich can wait around and shop for the best deal. Anything to add, Rich?
No, thank you.
Great. So the floor is open for 4.03. Councilor Paul.
I'll make the motion to recommend that the council approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion of 4.03? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 4.04, we basically just got a description of. Go ahead, Councilor Paul.
I'll make a motion to recommend the council approve the attached resolution.
Excellent. Second. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Second by President Tracy. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously as well. Excellent. Thank you, Rich. Now we are at 4.05, which is the acceptance and approval of FY21 audit. We had some discussion of the audit previously, Catherine, about how we had a presentation from the auditor.
Yes, we do have Alina here in case there's questions. But this group has already seen PowerPoint and the management letter. We've had a chance to ask questions. We did not at that meeting have a formal resolution because at that point we were still waiting for the school district to finalize their audit. I think if you've reviewed the materials, there's nothing substantial that's changed. If you have questions, Rich, Alina, or I are happy to answer them. Or if you're ready to make a motion, we can move this forward to City Council, and Alina is prepared to speak there for people who haven't heard her spiel already.
Councilor Ball.
Thanks. I'll recommend that the council approve the attached resolution, and then I just have one more.
Back to you, Councilor Ball.
Thanks. Just wanted to note that the management letter had 3 items on it. 2 of them were recurring. One of them, I think it's fair to say, was a bit of an anomaly given the fact that we had COVID. And just wanted to also acknowledge that I hope everyone will certainly support item 4.08 because that is the creation of a position that will hopefully further address one of the recurring issues in the audit. So kudos to all of you for getting such a brief management letter. Not that we should count it by the number of pages, but we do. And you know, wonderful work. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Paul, for saying that. I think this does reflect a lot of work from the clerk treasurer's team over many years, and it is fitting to cover it. It is nice to be taken further, but it's not a perfect bill of health. There are improvements that need to be made, but it's great that in real time because always happening.
A lot of auditors don't feel good if they don't find something.
President Tracy.
I was just wondering if you had any updates on any of the work that you've been doing in addition to this position that addresses some of the recommendations in the findings since we last spoke with the Board of Finance about this item.
That's a great question, President Tracy. I think you'll see reflected in the management letter, a lot of work has gone into project and capital accounting, and a shout out to our friends in DPW and Parks and Rec, some of whom are here, because that's really affected their lives as well, and it's taken a tremendous amount of work from those departments and the CT office over this past year to get all of our current and former projects into the system and really make sure that we have a system that starting on July 1st was really ready to accept new projects and start working as it should. And I think you see that in some of those comments from the auditors. In addition to this capital accountant position, in 3 weeks, we'll also come back for a grants accountant position, and that won't affect the general fund either. We found a way that can be paid for. But I think part of our conversation with the auditors has really been this tension between, of course, wanting to keep costs as low as possible and not have too many people in the CT office, and yet realizing that maybe we cut that a little too close in the past and wanting to make sure that we have enough resources to be able to provide that full breadth of service that people are looking for. So to be able to get those positions in and then fully onboarded, and then to make sure they're providing the service that not only we at our level need, but that in each of the departments, they're really getting the big picture as well as in the weeds services that they need. So that's sort of where that.
Okay,
is.
great. Well, thank you for getting it. I appreciate it.
Any? I think we had a motion, right?
Yes.
So any further discussion of the motion for 4.05? Seeing none, we'll take a vote on the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. It's accepted. 4.06 has been removed, so we'll now move to 4.07. Approving, obtaining standby letters of credit for the city's workers' compensation program.
This is also a pretty standard item. This is a $25,000 commitment fee for a standby letter of credit that we are required to have by travelers for our workers' comp insurance. We've never had to use it, but we have to have it. So please approve it, or let me know if you have questions. It is paid for from the insurance fund, so not a hit to the general fund per se.
I'll make a motion to recommend that council approve the attached resolution.
Discussion. Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 4.08 is next up. Creation of one clerk treasurer position. Just referenced it a moment ago. Maybe that's enough of an introduction for now. Unless people want to get into details on it. Floor is open for the board. President Tracy.
Make the motion to recommend, to take the recommended action at board docs.
Second by Councilor Paul. Discussion. Really want to add for the record that the vote for.
No.
Okay, we'll go to a vote then. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 4 point, and thank you, Catherine. I think that moving forward the capital project accounting has been a long-standing goal, and I'm really hopeful about this step forward. The next item is 4.09, New England Central Railroad Sidetrack Agreement. It's a D item. Looks like Darren is here to assist as needed. Darren, you want to kick this off?
Yes, and I was wondering if we can promote Betsy Lesnikoski, who's listed as an attendee, to a panelist. Betsy, looks like now she's here, is our chief forester at McNeil and has good context to share in terms of the history of this agreement and why we're bringing this forward. So I would turn it to Betsy just for a brief introduction.
Hi, I'm happy to give you the introduction. I'll try with my video. My internet is really wonky, so if you can't hear me, I'll turn off the video. We are required by our operating permit to bring 75% of our wood in by rail. We have a rail yard in Swanton, and we have a rail siding and a trestle unloading enclosure in Burlington at the McNeil station. Burlington Electric owns the middle of this enclosure and the trestle, but the railroad owns both ends. And this agreement covers the use of the track and the switches. We've had an agreement with the railroad with two leases since 1983 when we first started operating. This is a new lease that combines the two together into a more modern language lease. We've budgeted for this money in our operating budget, expense budget all along. So it's not a new budget item. It's just a new modern lease that takes the place of two old leases from the 80s. I'm happy to answer any other specific questions if people have anything specific about the lease.
Questions, President Tracy?
Yes, I'm wondering what was outdated about the previous lease. Like, is there anything generally about it that was outdated or that You're saying modernize.
Well,
What's modern about this?
there were two. One covered the land, one covered the tracks. They didn't have a real clear way to decide how they were going to increase the prices. This combines them into one, and it does have a clause that gives us a known value to keep increasing the prices so we have a better idea for budgeting. And it updates some of the railroad language into more modern terms. There are not a whole lot of changes to the leases themselves. It just makes it one lease that's easier to operate.
Great, thank you so much.
Very good. Are we, any more questions? Are we ready for a motion? That's fine.
I'm happy to make the motion to take the actions recommended in the board docs.
Excellent. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Hightower. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Betsy and Darren.
Thank you.
We will now move to 4.10, approval of parking fees in our parks parking lots. Cindy's here. Welcome, Cindy. So, just remind us how this works. And, this is to summarize the proposal.
Sure. So as you can see from our numbers here, parking is a big part of our budget. We often think we would find another place to park cars. We can pull money from the summer tourists that come to Burlington. So we right now have 3 main lots. We've got Oak Ledge, North Beach, or 4 main lots really: Oak Ledge, North Beach, Perkins Pier, but also the Peace Lot by the waterfront. We offer a seasonal pass for our residents, as you see in many communities offering that. So reduced fee if you want to get a pass. That does not, the one lot that does not cover is Pease, our prime waterfront lot. You do need to pay for that one. We are, the Parks Commission is supportive of adding the Letty lot, which is something that we used to charge at. Adding that back in is a way to increase some additional revenues for the department. And that would also be covered by that seasonal pass. We offer different rates, as you can see, for the seasonal passes, but then we also offer daily parking. At North Beach, or that's going to be North Beach at Perkins, which changed last year with the change of the rail coming in. We had to remove the building there, so we no longer have staff at that spot. We used to park mobile, and then this year we'll be adding kiosks. I want to say the parking services department, DPW, has just been really supportive and helping us as while we count on these lots, parking is not what we do every day, and it is something they do every day. So they've been sharing their expertise and staff working very collaboratively together on it.
Great, thank you. The floor is, did you say, can you just remind us when was somewhere that, when was the last time there was a fee increase?
2013.
Okay, so it's been a decade, almost. Councilor Hightower.
Yeah, I'm clearly never going to argue against parking costs, but I am curious because you have the league participants under the seasonal parking, and I know that some of the leagues are basically some of the most affordable recreation opportunities that we have. So I guess my question is, I don't know how much we charge the leagues in terms of using some of the park spaces, but I would almost rather see some shifting of that. So it being hey, if we're paying more for parking, then hopefully we're not also increasing their usage fees for some of the spaces. And then I was just confused on the levy. I guess, what is a season?
Season depends on the lot. So we open up, the campground opens up May 1st. So then we'll start charging for parking. It's May 15th is when we start charging when the Oak Ledge that comes out there. And so the league fee, those are less than the regular fee, because what that is actually doesn't get them all a lot. So if you play kickball is a big league one, which is a really big impact on that park. So but we offer them the ability to get a passes just for Oak Ledge. And that's why it's less. And we did that as a way to get them to pay. Because we were finding some instances where they were coming and they're like, well, am I gonna get a ticket or am I not gonna get a ticket? So we're really trying to incentivize them to pay for the parking because they have such an impact on that park. If you go to use Oak Ledge that day, they take a lot of parking. So that's why it's lower than the other one because it doesn't include all the parks. It's not a full seasonal pass. They can get a seasonal pass if they want to go to North Beach and Perkins and all that. Or they can pay they don't have to get a season pass, they could just pay an hourly rate too.
So the season pass for late participants is just for Oak Ledge, or is it for?
It's just for Oak Ledge, so they would pay, so if you're a resident and you wanted to get a pass and all you're gonna do is maybe for some reason, you're only gonna go to Oak Ledge, you never go to North Beach, you never go to Perkins. And you're in a kickball league, you could get $40 you could pay for it, or you could just pay hourly every time you come, like some people, or even better, you could bike or walk in and pay nothing. But that's why it's because it's just for one perk.
Right, that's what I do. What's the plan for Letty? I wasn't clear.
So Letty, the plan is that we can get all the equipment in, which we're working with parking services. We're shifting some around from their garages, and so they've got some available, one that we'll use at Perkins, and we're looking to take 2 of them, putting them out at Letty. And then we would do parking passes there. And with the park mobile system, they call them promo passes. So it's like, say you're gonna go skating, you're like in a skating class. When you signed your kid up for skating, you could get, or yourself, say you're taking skate lessons, you could get the promo pass, which then you wouldn't have to pay for parking there. So it's the arena users, it's intended more for like the beach users, and if you're going out biking at the path, that's what it's intended to capture.
Yeah, and I see this doesn't, I apologize, I should have done all this over email, but I just didn't get to it.
That's all right. That's all right. Don't mind asking.
Over the weekend. Yeah, I think that to the extent, obviously supportive of parking fees, and I think I see now why it's so low, because you're talking about the compliance issue. But obviously to the extent that we can make the parking not free for league users and instead subsidize it by having lower league fees, I think that would be great and helpful. But it sounds like you say on Letty it's going to be free.
If you're in the arena, yeah. And then I think I just finally turned what you're saying. The ones that are run out of Oak Ledge, those leagues are actually not a private or nonprofit, but it's a separate organization that does kickball, it's not us.
So those
But I
are
was saying-
qualified.
Yeah, so they can get that, but because it sounded like you were saying you'd rather the league fee be less, like as far as like but that's an outside league that's using our park to run their program. So I can't control the fees.
Sorry, I meant what we're charging the league. I assume we're charging the league.
Yeah, and they have to rent shelters too, because of the impact on, we can't rent a shelter out because they're using up so much parking, so we require them, so they actually have to pay to rent a shelter too. You're welcome. Thanks for asking questions.
So one of the things that might happen as a result of this is people deciding to ride, which is great, there, but just wanting to make sure that when we get there, there's additional parking, especially for the peak times and peak seasons. And so just wondering if there are additional efforts that parks to add enhanced or additional like parking for folks.
That's a great question. At Letty, it's taking us forever to get there, but we will eventually finish our Letty Pulse Place. There's a design for that, and that does include more bike parking at Letty. So the design improvements that we'll be doing near the entrance where the confluence of the pass across there, the main entrance in and the bike path, that will have increased bike parking. But it's a good question on Perkins. I'll have to look. We always charge there. We've always charged there, but it is good to look, just to take a double look at making sure we have enough places to do your bikes. We've been focused more on filling in where we didn't have any or where they were falling apart. But once we've got that down, that next look is making sure that we have enough. So I would say if you notice, let us know.
Sure.
That'd be great. That'd be helpful, because sometimes we don't notice that it's there's not enough.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that.
further discussion? For action. Sure. Cars from town. This is the first time in 2 years we parked at Oakland and walked all the way to Moran.
Oh, nice.
Didn't pay anything for parking.
That's right, yeah, not open yet. Yeah.
The whole, you know, if you haven't been on that approved stretch bike path since it was done last year, I want you to check it out. It's really big upgrade, and there are a bunch of pad sites and like.
Yeah, yeah, Oakland definitely has more.
Bike parking going.
Yeah, there's some bike parking going there, fitness station. One of them's the pad that you guys approved last week with the paddle boards. And then there's a one that's right near the where you drive in, there's a big pad there, and that's gonna be a kayak rack. So if you're pull in, you can take your kayak, pull over, take your kayak off, go park your car, and then, so that's what that would be.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you haven't been on it yet, the bike fest now on the west side of the train tracks. King.
I found myself twice, like coming off and like hitting the track, like being right at the tracks. I'm like, oh, wait a second, it's over.
All right, enough filibuster.
Yes, yes.
Are we ready for a motion on 4.1?
We recommend that the city council approve the 2022 parking fees for
Great, thank you, President Tracy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Paul. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thanks very
Thank you,
much.
Cindy, for advancing that. 4.11. Is PW item. Chapin, you're here to fix this one.
I'm gonna have our engineering team kick this one off. Senior engineer Laura Wheelock, you're on mute.
All right, Laura, we're not
hearing you.
hearing you. I don't know. It looks like you're unmuted.
All right, let's see, does that work better?
Yes.
Yeah.
You just might have a chance of hearing my kids better, but. So we're here just to get authorization to be able to execute the cooperative agreement. The council heard this item back in September as we were initially awarded the grant. VTrans' contract admin is actually slower than we are, so it took them a little while to get us the cooperative agreement. It is a substantial grant. The total with our local match is just over $1.4 million. The local match funds are coming from the city's capital, a little from the annual CIP, and a little from the recent town meeting day bond vote. Once executed, we look to be able to kick that off this year. One of the requests is also to be able to use the VTrans at the ready process to be able to procure a consultant. The hopes of being able to use this process is to make our consultant procurement be a little bit quicker to hopefully make up some of the time that we've lost while being in contracting phases. Happy to answer questions if there's any.
Great, thank you, Laura. Board like to proceed.
I'll take the recommended action in board docs.
Great, is there a second? Second by Councilor Hightower. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And now we have two more DPW items. So 4.12, Mansfield Avenue Sidepath and Traffic Calming Project.
Olivia. Degrees, Public Works Engineer, another project assisted with grant funding to. Really? Oh, well, that's really interesting. We're definitely combining this with the traffic calming program to get an economy of scale between both traffic calming and shared use path project.
Yep, so, yep, pretty general. This project has two components to it. We are replacing the side path slash sidewalk on the east side of Mansfield Avenue, about 1,600 feet. We're replacing with a 10-foot wide asphalt side path, which will really bring together the kind of network we have now between North Avenue and the newly constructed Colchester Avenue side path. And then the traffic calming components, which are basically being implemented in the form of 3 raised crosswalks, one in front of the Manor Christie School, and then 2 raised crosswalks, one either side of Loomis Street, to help slow traffic down along Mansfield Avenue. So, yeah, pretty straightforward. We anticipate construction begin early May. Bids came in fair and reasonable. Bid analysis was performed, and everything was found to be in line with what we estimated. So, happy to answer any questions.
I have a question so much as a comment, which this is also removing the like temporary planters along the.
Yes, sorry. So yes, good point. The quick build at Loomis Street is being removed, but it's actually being established as a permanent bump out curved and green space. So
Yeah, and the comment on that is, I don't know if these are, I don't know how many other places in the city have them, obviously familiar with that, because it's in Ward 1, but I feel like people like, because I thought it was a pilot project, and I know people didn't like it, and I don't think that's because they don't like the like permanent concept. I think it's because they specifically don't like the permanence of the pilot. So just wondering if we're planning on doing other things like this around the city, and if we're going to skip the pilot phase going forward or anything like that. Sounds like more of a quick build question.
Right, we do have senior planner Nicole Loesch, who I know did a survey with the community along the Old North End Greenway, and there was a general support for the Greenway itself and a frustration of just maintenance. And so that's why we are moving towards making the installation permanent with curb and removing the planters and the bollards.
I think generally what we've heard too from the community is that they do like the bump out concept at that location specifically. I think there was just a problem with maybe like the vertical component of it, and like having a hard time seeing around them and whatnot. So might not be a thing that's necessarily works in every sort of situation. But
there certainly have been times when the pilot stage has an adjustment made after basically just exploratory values.
Exactly.
First of all, this be able to move quickly and actually make a change, and then there's also stuff that's learned. So I think it's a strategy we still believe in, to Councilor Tara's point, but I do think people get frustrated when there's a long delay between pilot stage and build out. That may be something that we can reduce on in the future. That's responsive here.
Yes.
Okay. President Tracy.
Yeah, I definitely hear the same feedback from folks around the bollards and the planters themselves, and why not necessarily that they're opposed to the traffic calm, because I think that's recognized as an issue, especially on this, which is a rather wide street. I think it's that transitional thing. So hopefully some of this capital funds that have just been approved can be used to transition to that. I do think the intersection of that is an issue that was not necessarily addressed, or that addresses an issue that was not addressed in the initial bump outs, in the sense that compliance with the stop sign is more horrendous at that intersection. So I think it absolutely makes sense to do a raised intersection there in order to further calm traffic. And it's even the compliance with that, it's like in some cases people just blow right through it. So I think infrastructure could go a long way there.
yeah, so it's just a raised, not a total raised intersection, but raised crosswalks on either side, so it'll still have the same effect essentially. Probably be even more effective than the raised intersection in itself. I think it'll be more effective at slowing folks down. The stop sign actually is a temporary implementation in 2015. That's actually being removed for this effort. The Public Works Commission approved it as a temporary measure. It says right in the minutes that they approved it on the condition that we would explore traffic calming, permanent traffic calming measures. Do that, so, because it doesn't need any warrant, so that will be part of this effort as well.
Yeah, whatever, it does make sense so that it's safer for pedestrians
Yeah.
to get across, I think that's the best practice.
Yeah, and the raised crosswalks do provide that vertical component to help like improve that visual, visual of the pedestrian, so.
Great. Well, I know this is a project that has been long anticipated and awaited in the neighborhood. It's actually doubling the size of the 25 feet wide Sidepath option.
Yeah.
That's gonna be. Well, is that entirely welcome, or is there something? Is there some controversy around any of that?
We heard a couple comments that people, most people loved the idea. There were a couple people who didn't love the idea of pedestrians and cyclists coexisting.
There's no like private land that's being lost.
No, it's all within the right of way, yeah.
Yeah, and this does connect to the Colchester Ave shared use path that I was initially thinking that was grant funded, connected to this project, and will create quite a network of shared use path in part of the city.
Great. Okay. I forgot, do we have a motion on this already? No. Okay, we're looking for a motion.
I'll move to take the recommended action as board docs.
Great. Second by Councilor Paul. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Lydia, when will we break ground on this?
May 2020, the contractor's anticipating the first week of May.
Great. That'll be done this construction season.
Yeah, they're hoping for a 6 to 8 week construction season, so hopefully it's done before July, but I do have the contract that they need to be done before UVM gets back to school in August.
Nice. All right, excellent. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
It's an exciting project.
Mayor, could I just
Yes, Bob.
ask, is there, we're gonna be having, I would imagine, what I would imagine is going to be a fairly lengthy conversation this evening on 4.13. Very well be amendments to that. Could you please do not discuss this twice?
I understand the point. Is there?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch it on the first go around.
That's okay. Is anyone feeling the Okay. Satisfied with that?
Yes, I think the only piece to just clarify is there are two money items suggested in that resolution related to the city council initiatives for one and the traffic for the other. If the board of finance is comfortable discussing that at the full council, we just wanted to give you the notice that that was in the resolution.
Thank
you. Okay.
Great. Thank you for all your work on this, Chip. I'm excited that this is coming forward for action tonight. Okay. So I'm going to move to 4.14, communication regarding the staffing at temporary library branch in the New North End. This is actions. Don't exactly say action here. So we're just putting this on.
We're just gonna put it on file. It's just
okay.
Could I just ask?
Yeah.
I had reached out to Mary Benko today, or actually over the weekend when I received this before it was posted. Do you have anything that you could inform us on as far as you know, the basic gist of the letter and how you plan on responding to that, or is that something that's left for Mary? And I don't see her on. So, just wondered if you might have any comments on that, or if you would prefer to wait until Mary can speak.
we'd like to.
I'm not going to speak to it.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure Mary gets this and ask Mary to either come to the board or update on this. Okay. So I don't think any action is needed here. And I guess we could move to accept and place on file. We don't have to like work finance, but how the board like to proceed. And would you like us to should we take some kind of motion just to acknowledge receipt of this?
Yeah, I can just, as you say, council.
Okay, so I would welcome motion to accept this communication placed on file. Thank you, Councilor Hightower, second by Person Tracy. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And Councilor Paul, would you like to kick off the file?
Sure. Thanks so much for accommodating this on the agenda. It's pretty self-explanatory, certainly for Councilor Hightower, who has been faithfully attending these meetings. She's very familiar with the work of the public safety, the working group that has been working recommendation by recommendation through the CNA report. There was a request made to make sure that the recording of these meetings was very accessible and not just through posting it on board docs for those people who aren't as adept with board docs as most of us are. There is a cost for having town meeting TV post them on YouTube. It's $150 a meeting. We've had, or will have, we still have 2 more to go, one tomorrow night and one next Tuesday. We'll have had 10 meetings, and this is just simply a request to get an allocation of $1,500 out of the Council Initiatives Fund to have these recordings posted on YouTube.
Thank you, Councilor Paul. Was that, do you have a motion in there?
I'm happy to make that motion, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Hightower, discussion?
Sorry, just a process question. Does this go to the council beforehand, or is it just the Board of Finance that votes on it?
Really
Yeah, it should be, I think you're right, it should be, it shouldn't have been 4.15, it should have been 5.01.
I think so, right? It's already budgeted funds and it's a commission amount within this board's total. So I think if you clarified in your motion, Councilor Paul, this was for final action. I think council, that's what you wish.
Yes, I will make that, I will amend that motion that it, I don't even know what I said.
This is for, instead of a recommendation, this is for Board of Finance approval.
Okay, I would recommend that this be approved by the Board of Finance.
Great.
And go no further.
Right. And you second it, you're comfortable with that. Okay, so good. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That concludes our agenda. If there's no objection, we are adjourned as a Board of Finance at 6 p.m. Tracy, would you like to say something about the Zoom link for?
Yes, thanks for that. So this is the same Zoom link for the full council meeting for folks who are participating remotely. So you're certainly welcome to stay on for that. Just so folks know, we do have what's likely to be an executive session that we'll be going into. So we'll be in the council meeting, adopt our agenda, and then go right to the motions on executive session, after which time, should the council choose to go into executive session, we will. Hopefully we'll be able to take care of any business that in that executive session on collective bargaining prior to 7:30, which is when the public forum is scheduled to begin. If you are a member of the public interested in participating in the public forum remotely, please use the link burlingtonbt.gov/citycouncil/public-forum to sign up remotely. If, however, you're interested in signing up in person but are watching remotely currently, please come to City Hall and sign up here in Contoy's Auditorium for in-person commenting. So with that, we'll see you in a little bit.